A lot has changed for Ormus in the past few days. Pleroma was abandoned and destroyed. They had to shift their plans drastically to account for what Albedo has learned about the Y data, and Patriarch Sergius XVII has been attempting to micromanage Margulis. Margulis tells the Patriarch of the Y data's special protection and how they must wait for Momo to connect to the UMN control center in order to get what they want. Patience is the key here, but they'll still keep the pressure on Momo and the others. Margulis instructs Pellegri, Richard, and Herman to do just that. After fighting for their lives on the Proto-Merkaba, the Elsa and her passengers land safely on 2nd Miltia, just like they had planned days prior. Shion, Alan, and KOS-MOS head to Vector's 2nd R&D division, while Ziggy, Momo, Junior, and Chaos hail a cab to meet with Yuli. On the ride over, Richard and Herman ambush them on the highway inside ES's Gad and Joseph. Momo takes control of the vehicle as Junior returns fire. To try and get away, Junior sets off a smokescreen and the group duck into an alleyway, requesting backup from Guinan and Helmer. They're finally cornered when Pellegri arrives in ES Issachar. Just as it looks like they're going to lose, Kanan, the Realian that assisted Chaos in rescuing Junior and Guinan years prior, intercepts one of her attacks and activates the anima relic connected to ES Asher. This temporarily disables Pellegri's controls, and seeing that they aren't able to win, she retreats with Richard and Herman. Everyone is safe for now. For millennia, the use of ES units had been few and far between, but now as the pieces of Wilhelm's plan fall into place, they have been appearing more frequently. Though it's unknown where exactly they came from or when they were created, at a minimum, they have existed for thousands of years. ES stands for Ein Sof, which in Hebrew translates to unending or infinity. Just as the 12 Zohar emulators had been named after the apostles of Jesus Christ, the 12 ES units are named after the children of Jacob from the book of Genesis. The power of ESs easily exceeds that of AIMs. However, they cannot be piloted by just anyone. Only those who are able to resonate with the power of anima can control their power. Put simply, the willpower of the pilots is of the utmost importance. The reason for this is the connection the crafts have to the 12 anima relics. The fractured pieces of Yeshua's power each energize the machines, and if the pilot's will is lacking, the mechs will be unable to move. Shion, Alan, and KOS-MOS arrive at 2nd Division, where they learn of the ever-increasing threat of the Gnosis. More than 120 star systems have been completely eradicated by the phenomenon. At this rate, within a few years, all of humanity will be destroyed by the Gnosis. In order to prevent this, however, they need to be able to interface with the original Zohar, and seeing as it's still in the abyss on Old Miltia, this is currently impossible. They're shown KOS-MOS's tertiary weapons system. Originally designed by Kevin, this upgrade will allow her to be an even more effective weapon against the Gnosis. Shion reluctantly hands KOS-MOS over to 2nd Division to be upgraded. Alan stays behind to assist with her software, while Shion takes a walk around the city. Kanan is instructed by Helmer to assist in diving into Momo's subconscious at the UMN control center. Shortly after, Guinan arrives at Helmer's office with Momo, and they discuss the upcoming analysis. After the meeting, Helmer asks him to try and figure out the status of Albedo. Using their mental connection, Guinan is able to briefly speak with him. The conversation ends abruptly when Guinan blows up his arm, though.
Still, I look forward to your efforts nonetheless. Wait. No! Scary. You've always been two-faced, you know. Offering life in the one hand, delivering death in the other. Too bad I can't die.
While she explores on her own, Shion stumbles into Junior and Chaos, who arrive at the same tavern as her. They share a meal together and discuss the day's events. As they're eating, her brother Jin enters the establishment by pure chance, and Shion attempts to hide from him. She's quickly discovered, and Jin introduces himself to Junior and Chaos, despite already knowing the latter. Chaos plays along, and Jin takes a seat at the table. Shion is clearly uncomfortable that he's arrived and begins arguing with him. While trying to avoid his request to spend some time together, she mentions that her schedule is tight. However, the lie completely falls apart when Alan calls and informs her that KOS-MOS' update is going to take several days. After eating, the group heads to Jin's house, which he currently operates a bookstore out of. While Junior and Chaos excitedly peruse the vintage wares, Shion expresses her disdain for Jin's inability to choose a profession. It would seem that Jin had previously opened a medical practice, but grew bored of it after realizing that medicine has come so far that there actually isn't much for a doctor to do these days. Later on in the day, they recount the previous week's events to Jin, and he advises Shion to not get involved any further, even downplaying her ability to fight alongside Junior and the others. He then requests that they visit the graves of their parents, to which Shion refuses. It's been almost 15 years since the Miltian conflict, and she still isn't able to come to terms with their deaths. Frustrated at the fact that she's having this conversation with Jin yet again, she unloads her sadness onto him, coldly suggesting that they died because he wasn't able to get to them in time. She quickly tries to retract her comment, but it does little to erase the pain that it caused. Overwhelmed, Shion runs out of the house. Although Jin's feelings were hurt, he understands Shion's pain. He says that they're brother and sister after all. They're family. Later that night, Jin sits outside, unable to sleep. He keeps replaying the day's events in his mind, trying to figure out how he can help his sister. Chaos soon joins him and does what he does best. Listens.
I wasn't able to be with her when she needed me most. And now, thanks to that, I still can't let myself get close to her again. I think perhaps I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I try to get any closer, she might turn me away, shut me out.
The next day, Shion heads back to 2nd Division while Junior and Chaos meet back up with Momo. At the UMN Control Center, Momo is finally able to see Yuli face to face. Yuli ignores her for nearly the entire discussion, but at the very end mentions that once this is all over, it would be nice for them to live together. Momo is excited by the proposition, but Junior knows that it's not that simple. What's important to Yuli is safely obtaining the Y data. If lying to Momo to keep her calm throughout the process is necessary, then she'll do it again and again. Junior reveals to Yuli that he made a promise to Sakura, that he'd protect her mother and little sister. He intends to treat Momo just like a real girl, and suggests that Yuli would be much better off if she did the same. This seems to resonate with her, but at that moment, Chaos enters the room, which prompts her to leave. During their conversation, Chaos tells Junior that although Jin and Shion argue a lot, he knows they're going to be okay. This dysfunction makes Junior think of his own family tree. He knows just as well as anyone that family matters can be extremely complicated. After exiting the room, Yuli performs maintenance on Ziggy at Momo's request. Ziggy finally confronts her on why she's unable to treat Momo like a daughter. She bluntly states, "Could you love something that looked like your daughter but wasn't?" Not just that. For her, every single 100 series Realian is a reminder that Sakura is dead. She asks him if he ever had any children. He truthfully answers, but obscures the facts of Joaquin's death, saying that he died in an accident and that's why he committed suicide. She wonders aloud if maybe she should have done the same after Sakura's passing. Instead, she wallowed in her sadness and blamed Joachim. Ziggy asks her if she would be able to act as if she had two daughters, to treat Sakura and Momo as their own people. Sakura may be gone, but Momo is still here, begging to be loved. Unsure of the proposition, she says she'll think about it and exits the room. Ziggy is able to tell that Junior and Chaos have been eavesdropping on the majority of the conversation, and they reveal themselves. Junior explains that they didn't mean to, but they at least gained a new appreciation for Ziggy after hearing everything. While they begin preparations for the analysis, Momo is told that her artificial personality will be disabled. It's something that she had never really considered before, that her emotions and mannerisms were pre-programmed by her father. But before she can think any further on it, her personality layer is turned off, and she stares into the distance. As the procedure commences, Junior watches from afar and turns to leave. He wonders if it's possible that a higher power has created the hearts of humans, just as humans did for Momo. Maybe Sakura was wrong. Maybe he was destined to be a monster, as intended by God. Hours pass, and Momo's analysis is reaching its end. But before they're able to get past the final round of protection, Albedo's plan falls right into place. He's going to steal the data before Yuli and the others can access it. Despite her emotions being completely disabled, Momo speaks and begs for them to stop. She's trying to warn them of the trap, but it's too late. Albedo has inserted himself into her systems and begins corrupting all the other Realians in the UMN control center. In a last-ditch effort to stop Albedo from getting the Y data, Yuli decides to erase all of Momo's data, which would also essentially kill her. But she hesitates when Ziggy pleads with her to stop. Instead, Momo takes it upon herself to stop the intrusion and destroys her own mind. She's able to fend off the attack, but falls to the ground in a coma. Yuli rushes to her side and begins performing CPR. Not this time, she says. She will save her daughter this time. As Albedo cackles at what he sees as a paltry and vain sacrifice, Ziggy remembers how he felt when Voyager killed his son, and realizes that he's feeling the exact same way that he did all those years ago. With the Y data close, Sergius begins sending the immigrant fleet to the area, ready and waiting to go to Old Miltia. The leaders of the Federation call him to a meeting, demanding to know why he's mobilized so many ships. He lies by saying it's only a matter of time before Miltia and the Zohar become accessible again. The immigrant fleet used to be the caretakers of the Zohar, and he simply wants to ensure that no one could ever misuse it again should the situation present itself. The explanation does little to quell the fears of those in attendance, and they continue to bicker amongst themselves. After a few hours of work, they're able to get Momo's basic functions working again, but she's still essentially brain dead. Helmer and Junior request that Shion and Alan come to the control center to help recover the Y data and hopefully save Momo. Helmer also goes to see Jin and enlists his help in uncovering who was really behind what happened during the Miltian conflict. With hesitance, he agrees to finish what he started 14 years ago. Shion, Junior, Ziggy, and Chaos prepare for their dive into Momo's encephalon. Alan is leading the team from the outside. He uploads KOS-MOS' data from 2nd Division for some extra help during the mission. He explains that since Momo's mind was modeled after Sakura, while they're in her subconscious, they may encounter Sakura's fragmented memories. Junior reveals that this likely means they'll encounter him due to his contact with her during treatment. This makes Ziggy ask what the URTVs even do, and what Udu actually is. Junior explains all he can about the lie they were fed regarding Udu, how they were told that they were created to combat a rogue AI. All they know now is that Udu is much more than a simple AI. It's what created the space-time anomaly around Old Miltia. Alan commences the dive, and the group is transported into what's left of Momo's mind. They appear in a location all too familiar to Junior, the same place that he so often spent time with Sakura. her house. And just like Sakura, Momo sits in the same spot on the front porch. Junior calls to her, but it's no use. Momo's mind is too far gone to respond. Ziggy encourages everyone to move forward for Momo's sake, and they enter the house. They're taken through memory after memory from Junior and Sakura's past. The first time the two of them met, the experiments at the Yuriev Institute, and Albedo's slow descent into madness. After witnessing Albedo's realization that only he can regenerate, they view a memory of him digging graves for Junior and Guinan, as he awaits their inevitable deaths. While they watch Albedo crawl around on the ground, Junior comes to the realization that he abandoned Albedo. One of the reasons why his brother turned out the way he did is because he pushed him away. Shion suggests that it may not be too late. Maybe Albedo could change. If Junior tried again, there could be a chance to reach him. Eventually, they come upon a memory that's unfolding differently to how Junior recalls. Albedo repeatedly calls him a monster, enraging Junior. Momo, able to barely speak through Sakura, warns him to stay calm, but it's too late. They've fallen for another trap. Junior activates Red Dragon mode, and the real Albedo materializes before him. Albedo puts Junior into a chokehold and continues to taunt him. Shion and the others encourage him to stay calm. They suggest that he could make peace with Albedo. However, Albedo laughs at the proposition and shoves his arm through Junior's stomach, further fueling his rage. Junior pushes him back with a blast of energy and commences a standoff, just like on the Song of Nephilim. And just like before, as the conflict rages, from deep within her subconscious, Momo cries out for them to stop, freeing herself from the prison of her own design. Yet again, this was all according to Albedo's plan. This was the exact moment he had been waiting for. Albedo projects a light onto her, freezing her in place. He points out how Mizrahi's biggest mistake was giving her human emotions. She's able to be manipulated just like everyone else. The Encephalon vanishes, and the group is returned to the real world. As Momo wakes up, Yuli rushes out to see her. Shion asks if they have the Y data, and Yuli slowly turns her head to say that it's gone. They've failed. They're now on a collision course. The only question is, how long do they have? In deep space aboard ES Simeon, Albedo relishes his victory. The Y data has been successfully downloaded. He can finally open the way to Miltia. As he does just that, his atoms rip apart. On second Miltia, Junior feels Albedo's agony and doubles over in pain. For a brief moment, he's able to feel a fraction of the suffering that Albedo does. With the Y data in hand, Ormus, and by extent Wilhelm, set their plans in motion. Sergius dispatches Margulis, and Wilhelm does the same for his Red Testament. Countless ships head for the Abyss now that the path to Old Miltia has been revealed. Helmer and the Second Miltian government react similarly. They need to get there before Albedo's co-conspirators. So, ready to leap into the jaws of death once again, Junior and his friends make preparations to depart, accompanied by Jin and Kanan. Yuli says that Momo's navigational skills could now get them to Old Miltia, but is worried that it's too dangerous for her. She can now see that Sakura and Momo are two different people with their own wants and needs, and she would love to get to know her better, so she asks her to come back safe. After the incident with Albedo, Shion and many other Vector personnel have been locked down on the Damarong for their own safety. As Shion is getting some work done, Nephilim appears before her briefly, but fades away as quickly as she came. Shion decides to get some sleep, but dreams of Febronia and the Zohar. Feb reminds Shion of her wish to free her sisters from their captivity on Miltia, but before Shion can get any other answers from her, the dream ends. When she wakes up, Nephilim is there again. She reiterates what Febronia has said and asks her to hurry. So Shion forces Alan to help her leave and get to Old Miltia. The two of them work together to push past security and reach one of Kevin's old projects, ES Dyna. They board the craft and make the jump to Milsha. Wilhelm watches as they escape and sends Voyager after them in ES Dan in order to draw out KOS-MOS again. Sure enough, after Voyager does enough damage to Dyna, Shion's cries for help are able to reach her on second Milsha. KOS-MOS version 2 has awakened. Stunning all of the operators in 2nd Division, she rises from her maintenance pod and transforms it into a vehicle. She launches it into space and docks with ES Dyna just in time. Together, Shion, Alan, and KOS-MOS are able to fend off Voyager's attack and escape. Just as the dust settles, the Elsa jumps to their location to pick them up. As they approach the immigrant fleet, concerns grow that they'll be detected and fired upon. Momo suggests flying through the gap between both black holes, a highly dangerous but imperceptible route. Tony assures them that no challenge is impossible for him, and they approach the abyss. Right before they make their move, though, the Ormus stronghold gates out right in their path. Matthews says that since they won't let anyone through, instead they'll just make them move and destroy the thing. He orders Tony to fly towards the stronghold, and after taking some damage, they crash land on the exterior of the space station. Using the ESs at their disposal, Dyna, Asher, and Zebulon, the group spends countless hours fighting through the massive stronghold. They encounter and defeat Richard, Herman, Pellegrini, and another Ormus agent, Orgula. After the station begins to fall apart, they retreat to the Elsa, which is still damaged from the landing. Luckily, Mary and Shelley use the Durandal to rescue the Elsa before it falls into the abyss. Repairs commence on the ship, as Helmer places a call to Junior and asks that they resume their mission to Old Milsha. The rest of the Federation is spread much too thin, and Ormus has already seemingly gained access to the Zohar. They have to go as soon as possible. As they prepare to land on Old Milsha, they notice how nothing has changed in the past 14 years. It's as if time stood completely still. They disembark with their ESs and head towards Labyrinthos to find Vanderkam defending the entrance with a squad of Ormus agents. The group swiftly defeats them, and they head inside. On second Milsha, Guinan begins having a splitting headache. He's been having many lately, but this one is easily the worst. He recalls memories from his childhood, and after remembering the day he shot his father, he collapses to the floor. He doesn't know it yet, but as his hair fades from black to blonde, his true purpose has finally been fulfilled. After 14 long years, Dmitry Yuriev has come back from the dead, now alive and well, possessing the body of his son. Dmitry contacts the Salvatores and informs them of his return. A lot has changed since he's been gone, but that's not going to stop him. The inner walls of Labyrinthos are covered in pink and gray particles, which Junior concludes as Udu's influence. They have to keep moving. If Udu is awakened, there's no telling what would happen. Deeper into the facility, Jin is finally able to analyze the copy of the Y data inside of Kanan. He relays to the others the truth of what happened during the Milshan conflict. A shadowy organization was pulling the strings behind Utik all along, and Mizrahi was just a pawn in their game. Not only that, but the connection between Utik, Hyems, and Cardinal Heinlein of the immigrant fleet is finally made. The entire conflict was orchestrated by them, and in an effort to save the universe and protect Momo, Joachim Mizrahi sacrificed himself alongside the entirety of Milsha. Upon hearing this, Momo's doubts have been assuaged. Her father was not the madman history branded him as. Flawed, assuredly, but he wanted to save the world. This relief is short-lived, though. If they allow the immigrant fleet to take the Zohar again, they'll be inviting a catastrophe just like the Milshan conflict to happen again. More determined than ever, the group trudges further into the bowels of Labyrinthos until they're stopped by Marculus. As he shoots a fireball from his blade, Jin responds in kind with an ice ball. Though annoyed by Jin's continued meddling even after all these years, he can't say he's surprised. Jin attempts to remind him of the valuable lessons his grandfather taught the both of them, but it's all for naught. Margulis has decided his path, and there's no going back for him. Determined to stop a monster like Margulis from hurting people with his grandfather's technique, Jin readies himself. In a battle reminiscent of their previous clash 14 years prior, the two unleash all of their strength. Every strike is as deliberate as the last, and just like 14 years ago, they're evenly matched. This time, though, Jin's friends stand with him. Together, they repel Margulis, and he escapes with his ES Levi. With Margulis gone, they can finally enter the hangar containing the Zohar system. Xion recognizes this place from her dreams. As the group approaches the pods holding Cecily and Kath, they're horrified to see the state of them. These young girls are nothing but sacks of meat on life support. Xion collapses to the ground, unable to comprehend what she's seeing. The raw emotion she's been holding in for the past few weeks, and perhaps even years, boils over, and she sobs uncontrollably. KOS-MOS explains that removing them from the Zohar system would certainly result in their deaths. It's at this point when Sergius reveals himself, standing atop Proto-Omega. He tells them their true name, Ormus, and how Cecily and Kath were created for this very purpose, to guide humanity and destroy all Gnosis. Xion refuses to accept this answer, and in response, Sergius activates the Zohar. Junior can hear Udu and yells for him to stop, but it's no use. KOS-MOS steps forward and aims her cannon at the pods containing the sisters, but Xion stands between them. There has to be a way to save them, she pleads. Then Febronia appears before her. For a third and final time, she asks that her sisters be set free. Xion now understands what Febronia has asked her to do, and she can't handle it. She asks why it has to be her of all people. Febronia responds by saying it's because she's always been so kind. Xion orders KOS-MOS to fire, and Cecily and Kath are killed. It doesn't matter though, since the Zohar has already awakened. Proto-Omega envelops the Zohar and activates. Junior and KOS-MOS begin shooting at Omega, but it sustains no damage. With a wave of his hands, Sergius uses Omega's power to knock the group on their backs, and he descends into the planet. All of Miltia begins to shake, and the party escapes to the Elsa as quickly as possible. While taking off, the planet begins to crack and crumble. Molten lava rockets out of the crevices, while the immigrant fleet and Federation fighters are killed. From within the planet, the fully realized Omega system is born. As Miltia falls to pieces, the Omega system spreads its wings across Miltian airspace. Ormus has done the unthinkable. This is worse than the Miltian conflict. This power could destroy the entire universe with more ease than anyone thought possible. From his chambers, Sergius places a call to Margulis and tells him to take on the Federation reinforcements that have arrived. Margulis laughs and says that he only answers to one master, Cardinal Heinlein. This was Heinlein's plan all along, and according to that plan, Sergius will die a martyr. Margulis ends the call and leaves Sergius alone in stunned silence. On the Elsa, Jin finds Xion hidden away, unable to contain herself. He asks her to board the Durandal with everyone else. She yells at him to leave her alone, and she begins crying again. She finally remembers where she knew Febronia from. The day of the Miltian conflict, Febronia was killed and eaten by Realians in front of her, and she just ran away. She did the same thing today after Cecily and Kath died. She ran. Jin explains that perhaps Febronia asked her to do such an awful thing because she loved Xion like a sister as well, and wanted to help her come to terms with her past. He tells her that no matter what she's feeling right now, she is not alone. He and the rest of their friends are there to support her. Inspired, she gets up to leave the room. Before she walks out the door, she turns to Jin, possibly to thank him, but she hesitates and says she'll go on ahead. Now, by himself, Jin laments his relationship with Xion. He's jealous of Fabronia. She's been dead for years, and Xion feels much closer to her than she ever did with him. He took care of her for over a decade, and she just doesn't seem to love him. He wonders if there's anything he could truly do to help Xion. As Pellegrini communicates the latest plans with their plant in the SOCE, Dimitri enters the room and shoots him. On the other side of the video call, Pellegrini is speechless at what she's seeing. Dmitry Yuriev in the flesh. He tells her to let Margulis know that he'll never die, and shoots the console, ending the call. He then places a call to Junior, who is equally as stunned to see him. Yuriev tells Junior that Albedo is going to try and contact Udo again. Junior says he'll go and stop Albedo, but he won't kill him. Either way is fine with Yuriev, and he ends the transmission. As he leans back in his chair, Negredo is barely able to take control again, and attempts to tell Junior not to trust him. But it's too late. No one can hear him. Junior and the others depart for the Omega system, and they battle all manner of foes inside. They even fight a living cathedral. When they finally reach Sergius, Albedo teleports into the room and accuses him of taking a power that is rightfully his. Sergius replies that URTVs are nothing but failed products of a twisted age, and that lower lifeforms could never understand Ormus's goals. Albedo offers Junior his help in defeating Sergius, and begins firing blasts of energy from his hands. They do nothing to harm him, and with a flick of his wrist, Sergius shoots a beam from Omega that knocks Albedo out of the air. Junior rushes to his brother and watches as his body slowly disintegrates. He jokes that Junior should inhale the particles that make up his body, and he fades away yet again. Enraged, Junior tells Sergius that taking out Albedo is his job, and the group begins to fight. Sergius quickly bores of this, though, and begins charging up Omega's phase transfer cannon. He's going to kill all of them, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Just before he fires, the red, blue, and black Testaments appear with their ESs. They have taken control of Omega. The blue Testament tells Sergius that he should have stuck to his role, and annihilates him with a burst of energy.
No! I am all power!
As the light fades, Ziggy stares at the Black Testament, Voyager, and sees nothing but red. The man who killed his family stands before him. He fires a barrage of rockets, and without moving a muscle, Voyager sends them all hurling back at Ziggy, injuring him. The three Testaments raise their arms and do what they came here to accomplish. They speed up Albedo's regeneration and allow him to absorb as much energy from Udo as he wants. Junior tells him that he wasn't born for this, but Albedo disagrees. This has been the moment he's been waiting for his entire life, to become part of the eternal chain. As the energy radiates from his body, KOS-MOS steps forward and activates her tertiary weapon systems, shielding everyone. She tells Xion and the others that she can hold him off for 3 minutes, and to break the nearby wall to rendezvous with the Elsa. Ziggy hobbles over to the wall and says that he can break through while Momo protests. He's in no condition to do this. He tells her that they can always just repair his body. He uses all of his power left to shatter the wall, and his arm breaks off in the process. KOS-MOS and the rest of the party make it onto the Elsa. They escape as Albedo uses Udo's power to create a space-time anomaly around the Omega system, just like the one that was around Milsha. Back on the Durandal, Mary and Shelley have determined that the expansion of the anomaly has stopped temporarily, but there's no telling when it'll start again. Junior puts the two of them in charge of the bridge and goes to sit in the park alone. Seeing that he's clearly upset, Shion follows to try and talk with him. He tells her that Albedo keeps calling to him, over and over. Albedo wants to fight, and while Junior is unsure himself, he knows that he has to go to his brother. He can't let things stay the way they are, both physically and emotionally. He believes that he is the only one who can stop him. He goes to visit Momo to see how Ziggy's repairs are going. Yuli has ordered special parts for Ziggy's frame, and when he goes to thank her, she requests that instead of calling her Dr. Mizrahi, that he just call her Yuli. She then asks him if he'd like to undergo treatment to extend his lifespan, something he had previously refused. She'd like him to stay alive longer for Momo's sake, as well as her own. He's taught her so much in such a short time. Without him, she may never have begun to treat Momo as a daughter. He asks for a bit of time to think about it. Junior hears the tail end of the conversation as he walks into the room. Ziggy sends Momo away to pick up the parts, and Junior talks with him about what happened in the Omega system. He's never seen Ziggy angry before. Back when they infiltrated the Song of Nephilim, Ziggy had made it clear emotions cloud judgment in the heat of battle. Junior is happy to know that this came from experience. Junior expresses his worry that whenever he comes near Albedo, he just can't control himself. Ziggy says he knows what he's thinking and won't stop him. He says to go show Albedo a thing or two for him. As Junior tries to sneak out of the Durandal to fight Albedo himself, he's caught by Momo. She begs to go with him, but Junior refuses. The two of them need to settle this alone. He needs to go and be a good big brother now. Momo makes him promise to come back, and as he opens the door to the ES hangar, he just smiles at her. Junior boards Asher and prepares for takeoff. As the alarm sounds, Momo tries to lie to the others on the bridge and says that he's just going for a test flight. Shion knows that this isn't true though. He's going to stop Albedo alone. Inside the anomaly, Junior encounters a younger version of Albedo who's surprised to see that he's come without his friends. He calls him a coward and fades away. As Junior progresses through this world that Albedo has created, he's forced to watch memories from his childhood. Memories that have been distorted and corrupted by Albedo. They're eventually brought to a memory of Sakura's room where Albedo punches Sakura over and over. He says that he hated her because of the way that she flirted with Junior, the way that she took him away. He's happy that she's dead. Junior punches him and Sakura's body transforms into Momo. Albedo says that she's only really just a cheap imitation and that he's already damaged her. He enjoyed every second of doing so because he knew it would hurt Junior. He invites him to try and do the same thing to her, suggesting that she might even like it if it came from him. The scene fades and Albedo continues to goad him. Eventually, Junior can't take it anymore and falls to the floor, activating Red Dragon mode. He's given Albedo exactly what he wants, again, but this time, a vision of Sakura appears before Junior. This is not a creation of Albedo's. This is something different. As Junior struggles against his own power, Sakura embraces him and tells him not to be afraid. She believes in him. He's finally able to pull himself together, stand up, and face his brother. Junior comes upon a room filled with Kirschwassers floating in fluid. At the center sits Albedo, fused with a throne from the waist down. Giant veins extend from the sac connecting them and branch across the entire room. Junior asks Albedo to stop the anomaly, but he refuses. Instead, he begins another one of his rants, pointing out that all human culture really amounts to is a distraction from the truth of reality. A truth that they severely misunderstand. But he's a nice guy, so he'll show them all what they're missing. He intends to phase shift as much of this region of space into the upper domain, to become one with Udu and the Eternal Chain. Junior's entire body begins to tingle. Red Dragon mode has activated once again. Rubido, an anti-Udu weapon, was created merely for that purpose. And now he faces his opposite, a being who has fully embraced Udu. Every single cell in Junior's body thirsts for battle. Perhaps he's felt this way his entire life. Either way, he intends to rip Albedo out of this disgusting world and bring him back to the Durandal. Despite the years of build-up, the battle between the two is quick. Junior is victorious. As the walls around them start to crumble, they both admit that it was fun. But not because they were born for this, but because they're just men who desire to dance on a razor's edge. Junior tries to take Albedo back, but it's too late. Albedo's body is long gone, and his consciousness was all that was left. Junior realizes that this is really what Albedo has wanted. He wanted Junior to kill him. The man cursed with eternal life just wanted the sweet embrace of death. Albedo coldly says that he always hated his brothers. Before he goes, he warns Junior of Negredo's shadow. He asks him to really think why it is that of all the URTVs, Guinan is the only one that doesn't react to Udu. A light shines upon Albedo, and 4 winged Kirschwassers take him up into it. Junior isn't ready to be alone, but Albedo, the calmest he's ever been, says that he's finally free. Junior cries on the floor as the vision of Sakura returns to his side. He can no longer feel Albedo. His heartbeat stopped. He is truly gone. His twin brother, who fused with him in the womb, is gone. Half of him is gone, and the half that is left is weak and pathetic. Sakura knows that he isn't weak. So many people rely on him, especially her sister, who he promised to protect. He walks over to her and collapses in her arms, exhausted. However, this was not Sakura. Chaos and Nephilim created her to help him through this task. Nephilim says that although so much has happened already, this is just the beginning. From a tiny drop of water, a ripple has been born. And very soon, this ripple will become a wave of unfathomable proportions, and Junior, along with his unlikely friends, will be at the center of it. The anomaly then disappears, and the Zohar is left floating in space once again. Junior arrives back on the Durandal, and Momo jumps into his arms, delighted by his return. He gives the credit to Chaos, though, who simply smiles and waves. The crew of the Durandal attempts to retrieve the original Zohar, but a massive gnosis the size of a star system appears in front of it. Abel's Ark. The Ark takes the Zohar and disappears instantly. From his office on the Damarung, Wilhelm observes Chaos standing on the wing of the Durandal. They telepathically communicate. Wilhelm's pleased to see him after all this time, but thought that he wasn't going to intervene. Chaos replies by saying he's finally decided that he's going to assist his friends. They need help for what's coming, and he isn't going to hold back any longer. Days have passed since the events at the Omega system. Most of the group separates in an attempt to lead normal lives after all they've been through recently. Junior adopts an albino puppy named Albie to remember his brother by. Momo goes to live with Yulian's second Milsha, and Ziggy is assigned to work with the Kukai Foundation, but intends to undergo life extension for Momo and will come see her whenever she likes. Jin joins Chaos, the crew of the Elsa, and the SOCE to further investigate Ormus. He knows that they're not finished with their work yet. Shion, KOS-MOS, and Alan return to Vector alongside Miyuki and continue their work. Wilhelm meets with the Testaments to discuss the Y data. What they retrieved from Momo was incomplete. Albedo seemingly did not take all of it. Wilhelm isn't bothered by this, though. Everything is moving smoothly. As a matter of fact, he's recruited a fourth Testament. The White Testament, Albedo, has joined their ranks. Just as was predicted, Gnosis activity has dramatically increased across the universe. Most notably is the frequency of attacks in densely populated areas. Their appearance seems more deliberate than coincidental, so the conclusion is drawn that they're being controlled by someone. During the SOCE's investigation of the incidents, Jin rescues a Special 100 series Realian referred to as Grimoire's little girl. The blonde girl who mentions the name Nephilim doesn't match any manufacturer records, and her entire memory bank has been wiped. Jin tells Xion about this, so she and KOS-MOS come to the lab. The lab is soon attacked by Gnosis, and KOS-MOS is deployed to rescue as many people as possible. In the commotion, a Scientia agent known as Doctus is able to slip in undetected. The organization that Melisse created a century ago is indeed still active. Doctus manages to snatch the girl right out of Yuli's arms. KOS-MOS attempts to stop her from escaping, and during the fight, it's revealed that Doctus is actually a remote-controlled android. KOS-MOS is defeated by Doctus, and she takes the Realian with her. Later on, KOS-MOS is rushed to be repaired, while Yuli explains to Jin and Xion what they've learned. That the Realian girl's brainwaves are similar to that of Lemegeton, the Zohar control program used by Grimoire Verum during the time of Lost Jerusalem, and by her ex-husband on Milsha. They have come to the correct conclusion that its usage caused a domino effect that led to the disappearance of Earth. To learn more about their current predicament, Jin and Xion resolve to locate the girl and track her to a ship in deep space, where Doctus ambushes them. They're taken to speak with the ship's captain, who tells them that they've found a majority of Gnosis appearances are linked with UMN dives. They suspect that Vector is actually behind the Gnosis attacks. So, Doctus kidnapped the Realian because they intend to use her relationship to Lemegeton as a way to prove Vector's guilt. They go to see the Realian girl, and almost immediately upon the analysis beginning, she starts screaming and disappears in a flash of light. Xion is knocked back and passes out. Jin is able to bring her back to the subcommittee, where they conclude that she has fallen into a coma, unlikely to ever wake up. Nephilim contacts Jin and explains to him that both Xion and the Realian girl's consciousness have been transported deep within the UMN to an area hidden by Vector called Ars Nova. In order to save his sister, Jin works with Scientia to dive into Ars Nova. Inside the UMN, Xion and the Realian girl appear to be in a prison inside some sort of cathedral. They're approached by none other than Grimoire Verum, who calls the girl Nephilim and offers to return her memories to her. He takes her out of the room through a portal, and Xion is left by herself. Soon after, Jin and Doctus appear inside Ars Nova and free Xion. As Xion and Jin go to rescue the girl, Doctus stays behind to fight the security drones closing in on them. They manage to find Grimoire and the Realian girl deep within the building. Grimoire reveals that he is indeed the same scientist from over 5,000 years ago. After his disastrous experiments on Lost Jerusalem, his consciousness became stuck inside the collective unconscious, and when the UMN was constructed, he became confined to Ars Nova. Since his daughter Nephilim was lost in one of his experiments, he aims to use the copy of Lemegeton inside the Realian girl to absorb the memories of Nephilim that had been scattered across the UMN, and the hope that he could have his daughter back. As he implants his daughter's memories into the Realian, she begins to scream again. These aren't her memories, and she doesn't want this. Grimoire is angered that she won't comply, and Xion explains that she only wants her own memories, not someone else's. During this process, to Grimoire's horror, his actual daughter appears. She blames herself for his pain, believing that His love for her prevents him from leaving this place, and sure enough, as father and daughter are reunited, he's finally able to find peace and dissipates from Ars Nova. Unfortunately, without Grimoire to control Lemegeton, the Realian girl goes berserk and turns into a Gnosis. She attacks Jin and Xion, but luckily a newly repaired KOS-MOS intervenes and assists Jin in the fight. She's now been upgraded to KOS-MOS version 3. Together, they destroy the Gnosis, and with Nephilim's help, Xion is able to help the girl recover her memories. They come to the realization that the girl's name is actually Almadel, and that she met Xion on Milsha while her mother was getting treatment. Happy to finally have a name, she tries to stay calm, but it's no use. Lemegeton is out of control. Nephilim says that the only way for this to stop is for Almadel to die. And so, the girl begins erasing herself from the UMN to save everyone. Xion begs her to stop, however, Almadel has made her choice. She tells Xion she's so happy to have remembered her, and disappears with a smile. Now with Grimoire and Lemegeton gone, Ars Nova begins to collapse around them. Xion is sobbing on the ground, yet again traumatized by the death of a loved one. Jin slaps her across the face and tells her that Almadel sacrificed herself to save her, and that they need to fulfill her wish and escape. Jin, Xion, and KOS-MOS manage to exit the dive safely, and Xion wakes up from her coma. After these events, Xion is demoted from Chief of 1st Division for her role in the destruction of Ars Nova. Instead of working somewhere else in the company, without as much of a goodbye to her co-workers and KOS-MOS, she quits entirely, unable to put aside their shady dealings. In her absence, Alan is named the new Chief of 1st Division. Xion decides to join Scientia and help uncover the truth of the UMN and the Gnosis phenomenon. She used to think that Vector was the solution, but now she believes that it's actually the source of the problem, and she'll stop at nothing until they're held accountable.